So how you doing, Nameless?
I'm good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Let me
Nice.
tell you how much of a privilege it is to finally see you in person.
Oh, yeah?
I've been watching you since I was in standard 3. I've been watching you since I was in class 1, man.
That's
It's
crazy,
such an
bro.
honor, man.
That's so crazy. I appreciate it as well.
How does it feel to meet somebody like me who has been watching you since
No,
I was in standard 3?
It reminds me of how the journey has been, you know, because sometimes I forget. Me, I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll always, especially in the last 3-4 years, I've been meeting many people who tell me, I knew you when I was in Primo. I knew when I was, you know. So it makes me be like, wow, I have a lot to be thankful for. That I'm still being able to do my thing. It's almost 25 years now.
All right. Let me confess something.
Yeah.
Man, I saw you and all the questions zimepotea. All the questions zimepotea. The one thing I can remember though is natafuta salario. Nasinzia nikikuwaza.
That's what's up.
You're a legend, man.
Salary was 2007.
2007, I think I was in primary.
Actually, 2008 after the violence.
All right.
Post-election violence.
I think I was still in primary, man.
In Primo, yeah?
Yeah, nilikuwa Primo.
Yeah, since year was 2006, yeah. So it's been a minute.
Let me recollect myself and get back to the discussion.
Awesome,
Nameless, we are hanging out with Nameless. Let's start off from your name. I know this is a question you've answered a dozen times.
Yeah.
Nameless, how did it come? How is it that you don't have a name? But again, you have a name at the same time.
I know. I mean, when I was trying to find a name as an artist, I struggled for quite some time.
All right.
Every time I come up with a name, I would be like, no, I don't like it. So, so it was just by chance in a competition when I was asked what my name is, and I had not yet thought of a name. And I didn't want to give my real name. So when I just said Nameless, immediately I said it. And immediately the judge listened to it. It was a competition.
All right.
I was like, I like it. So
it sounded artistic.
Yeah, I just felt right for
at the
me.
same time.
Mysterious. Not boxed in anything. I don't like to be boxed in anything and all that. So that's how Nameless came about.
You're a legend. You've been there since the beginning. Just the other day, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about the growth of the Kenyan music industry. Yeah. And they were saying that you started off as a hip-hop artist, actually. Is it true?
Yeah. I mean, I started off as a rapper. Like, you listen to Mega Rider, it's very much like Snoop Dogg.
All right.
I always liked Snoop Dogg. When I was a teenager, I used to be a big fan of Snoop Dogg. I'm still a fan of him.
Those are the days when the Snoop Dogg were doing that thing. It was so intense.
His album of Doggy Style. So even my way of writing was more like laid back rap. So Mega Rider was the one I did, and that's how I started off as a rapper. But I slowly began to become a sing rapper, what I used to call a sing rapper, where you kind of put more melody in your lyrics.
All right. You guys were there in the days of Ogopa DJs.
Yeah.
There was Ogopa DJs versus Caliph Records, and it was a huge thing in the Kenyan music industry. I mean, it kind of shaped the current music generation that we have right now. It laid the foundation. What happened? Why don't we still have the Ogopa DJs and Caliph Records? I mean, it was the best thing that ever happened to this music industry.
Yeah, well, I feel like many record labels struggle to reinvent.
All right.
Because you have to remember we're all pioneers, so we don't have all the answers.
All right.
So I feel like Ogopa was there for some time, but it may not have managed to reinvent over many years.
All right.
Caliph also kind of like slowed down. So they entered different interests. Like Ogopa went more into shooting and doing more of mastering of music. He still does a lot of my music mastering. Caliph, Clement moved into other things. So that is the main thing that has ailed one of the things that ails our industry is that record labels struggle to cross generations.
All right. You are the best person to answer this question, all right? Yeah. So I'll lay some little bit of foundation, right?
Yeah.
Jose Chameleone got his music breakthrough in Kenya, and he took back the music back to Uganda. The most of the Ugandan sound that we have today was actually built from what Jose Chameleone invented from Ogopa DJs, right? Yeah. At your time, you guys were doing a lot of things. You were doing hip-hop. Guys were doing Kapuka Genge. Tanzania only had Bongo, right?
Yeah.
So in more ways, Kenyan music industry was very diverse, right? But in the current music generation, there's a lot of chaos going on. There's a lot of people taking titles, everybody coming with their own genres, and it's a little bit chaotic as compared to other music scenes, like in Tanzania, they've identified with bongo, and Nigeria, they've identified with Afrobeats. But in Kenya, somehow, somewhere, we're still fighting whether we should take Abanton or Gengeton, or whether we should, get another Swahili R&B. I mean, what's your take on all this?
I mean, when you see there's a fight, it means that there's no genre that's strong enough to have the crown without debate.
All right.
And it's normal when people, if everyone is feeling mine can be better than, if something becomes really strong, then no one will debate. There will not be a fight. People just have to accept. There'll be a few haters.
All right.
So that means that people are still trying to really get grips on it. It's not easy. I don't blame artists for trying to find ways, because I keep saying there's no school for this.
All right.
There's no school to teach you how to, come up with sounds and all that. You have to learn it yourself. But I think it's healthy to compete. It's just that the one who wins has to be so strong
to be outstanding.
Yeah, that no one is debating, because everyone is just like, that's the sound that 80% of Kenyans have agreed to.
All right.
When they're not agreeing, that means it's not strong enough.
We still have a lot of work to do.
Still work.
All right. You recently released Whiskey Nikani Komar. I was listening to that song the other day, and then I was trying to create a review to it. And the one thing that occurred to me was that you've managed to reinvent and evolutionize throughout this music industry. I mean, you brought back Reckless, and you fused with him as if you're a Gen Z. How do you manage that?
I love getting people's energy.
All right.
I can sit with someone from a different genre and pick some vibe from them and combine it with my vibe and then create that thing. So my upcoming album, which is for this year, I'm doing a lot of collaborations with a lot of different people. And I keep picking. Every time I start working with someone, I'm like, listen, I want you to learn from me and I want to learn from you.
All right.
I want us to come up with something that celebrates the collaboration.
All right.
So that was the first single. There'll be others coming out soon. And it's just respecting a different perspective. For me, it's all about respecting. You don't have to stick to your vibe alone. You can pick someone else's vibe.
All right, as I finish up, I have a lot of questions, man. I really wish I could meet you somewhere else different. But let me ask you this. A lot of artists, a lot of musicians back in your days, they never lived to see the glory of music that it is today. Some of them faded away. Somehow you're still here today. Do you think that probably accepting that music has changed and being ready to learn from the other person and take their vibe, do you think that is what has kept you relevant up to this day?
Yeah, definitely. Listening to, I have very many friends in all generations.
All right.
I'm always with Bien. He's 10 years younger than me. I'm with... as you've seen, I work with different guys, even the younger guys in their 20s. I'll sit with guys. As I'm telling them my experience, I'm also learning their experience.
Definitely.
I'm very open-minded. I don't lock myself in a box, you know. So when TikTok comes, I open up my TikTok.
And you go with the vibe.
TikTok guys. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, because people define things based on society instead of looking at what makes sense to them.
All right.
So for me, that's I think how the industry has kind of made me begin to understand the importance of listening to the younger generation. And the younger generation also listening to the older generation.
You brought back Reckless just at the time when there was an intense discussion. I don't know if you came across this discussion. People were like, where is Reckless? Epic had just announced their comeback, but without Reckless. And everybody was asking, where is Reckless? This guy has a legendary voice. This guy was literally the face of Gengeton. So you brought him back. Was it because of the discussion, or did this discussion just come along the way you were doing your thing?
We'd worked on this some time back.
Okay.
It's just that I was compiling other songs.
All right.
So it happened to come up. I didn't even know that there were some issues. I'm not a person for conflict, so I always hope that they can resolve their issues.
All right.
Encourage them to resolve. You don't have to shoot each other down. You can either agree to disagree and all, but don't have to. So honestly, for me, when I saw that, I was like, if I get a chance to be able to like talk to both of them and say, you know what, try and understand why you have differences. However, right now I'd always want to work with Reckless. Luckily, Reckless also want to work with me. So the manager managed to get us together in studio, and we did our thing. And
it was very interesting.
Yeah,
I was reviewing it and I was like, this song gives you the new school vibe, gives you the old school vibe, and kind of brings all the good vibe music all together.
Yeah, because I also sample my music a lot with people, and even when I show older guys, they're like, okay, I can understand to some level what you're saying. But I show younger guys, are like, I'm feeling the vibe. So I would sample with very many generations to see it before I released it. What are you guys feeling? And I was happy to hear that everyone was feeling they could feel themselves in the song.
Definitely.
From someone who's in their 40s, someone in their 30s, 20s, which for me is what was the whole point.
You are part of Mdundo.
Yeah.
So far, you were there ever since the beginning.
Yeah.
How has it been? How does it feel having been part of Mdundo as an artist up to this day?
I'm Mdundo when I met Martin long time, and he explained to me his concept. I'm the type who understands because we're in a pioneer stage.
All right.
We have to experiment with different things and see what works for our market.
All right.
So when he explained to me, I kind of understood where he was coming from, and I said, you know what? Sign me up. Let's see how it goes. Just because you're just like, we are a unique market, man, and we really need to understand the market. So for me to see them to have survived all these years and still to be able to contribute in such a level to the industry makes me happy.
But most of the artists in our current generation, as a source of income, they only focus on stage performances. Most of them, they're not really opened up to earning from the DSPs, or probably they don't have adequate information or education of how to earn from these DSPs. Would you encourage artists to, as a new way of earning and as a way of beating this thing that says usania ina do, maybe they should refocus and pursue these other channels like DSPs as a source of income?
Yeah, I think it's important that as an artist you look for many revenues of income.
All right.
You can't rely on one, you know. Sometimes, you see, like when COVID came up, we couldn't perform. So if you didn't have another revenue, you will be in trouble.
That was the time DSPs were actually giving artists their thing, right?
A lot, yeah. And even for me, I'm doing influencing now. I just started doing influencing the last 3-4 years because I'm like, I don't have to look at myself just as a musician. I can look at myself as an entertainer and influencer.
Definitely.
So when you're a musician, you influence people with your music.
All right.
But you can influence yourself with content creation as well. So I advise people, even the dance award, we're in a current kind of times when you have to be very flexible.
Definitely.
You can't be locked in one way of doing things.
All right. So I gotta let you go. A lot of guys are waiting for you. Just a few more questions. The fact that you're still here, part of Mdundo, it means you're making something from it. I mean, music at the end of the day, it's all about business, right? The fact that you're still part of Mdundo, you still earning from it, right?
Yes.
And you would encourage other upcoming artists to come on board, to hop on board.
Yeah, it's important to try it. It's important to that's why I said it's very important to try different ways of making money, then see the results, get feedback from them, let them tell you what they think about your content, where it's doing well, where it's not doing well, because that's the only way you get to know how your content is doing. Yeah. So for me, I encourage that.
All right. You mentioned your album is coming up.
Yeah.
Definitely it's gonna be a game-changing one. I mean, you've been able to study the whole game.
Yeah.
Abaton has just come in time when you're doing your album.
Yeah.
I mean, who should we expect to see?
We've
already seen Reckless.
I wouldn't tell you that.
Can I take a guess?
No.
One of the Abaton people.
You're going to try and look at my body language.
And then I'll know if I'm right or not.
No. It's definitely one where I want to every time have different surprises of the different people who are coming up.
All right.
But it's a very collaborative album. It's an album celebrating a journey, many years, many generations. Collaboration. I just want to show how good it is when we collaborate and work together and bring each other's strengths together. So that's what the album is going to be about.
All right. I know you are very keen and you have a lot of focus on keeping your personal life out of the public eye.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done that for so many years. You've avoided scandals in all way possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had any scandal relating to you, right? But looking at the Kenyan music industry, I was thinking you are the Jay-Z and Beyonce of Kenya, you and Waho.
Without the Jay-Z, Beyonce money.
I mean, about the money is up for debate.
It's based on the market, yeah.
So, should we... My director is telling me my time is up. You gotta understand me. But just one last question. I mean, should we ever expect a song from you and Waho? Probably one day.
I did in the last 2 years. We did 6 songs. That we've been dropping. We dropped from 2001, 2002. So it's there. If you go check it out.
Mdundo, that one, my bad. How can I be a fan, man, and not be aware?
Go check out Back It Up. Nameless and Wahoo.
Come on, back it up. Yeah. I know. You should have said that. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, bro.
I hope to meet you somewhere else in a different context with a lot of time. Thank you so much. It's an honor, man.
It was a good one, bro.
Thank you.